Hello, my name is Ken, and I want to welcome you back to Deep Waters. This podcast is brought to you by Applied Strengths Ministry, where we believe working together in our strengths is the effective working out the will and calling of God in our lives. The title of this message is Discipleship, Equipping the Saints for the Work of Ministry. This is a multi-episode series in which this is episode 6 of 6. Now, before I continue on with my goals and mission and all that, what I'm doing here is showing you the end result of planning. All of those scriptures above are things that you're going to go through on a daily basis. I mean, you're not going to suffer every day, but there's going to be seasons where you do throughout that entire season. It has a purpose. So a mission comes out of that purpose. And so if you take those things that are a struggle for you, the trials, the suffering, the tribulation, the persecution, and develop a mission from that, then you stay on that mission the rest of your ministry. It's what helps you move forward. And not everything that you write down is going to come to pass or happen. But if you don't write it down, you have 70% less chance of actually doing it than someone who does write it down. So I decided to go back and do the Dale Carnegie's life principles for winning friends and understanding people's need to be heard and understood. Number 1, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Number 2, give honest, sincere appreciation. 3, stir up in the other person an eager want. 4, become genuinely interested in other people. 5, smile, smile, smile. 6, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. 7, be a great and excellent listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. Hear them as you would want to be heard. 8, talk in terms of the other person's interest. Research them in advance of the meeting if possible. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. That's 9. 10. To know the difference between an argument and conflict and to know how to avoid the one and enter into the other. 11. Show respect for the opinions of others. Never say, you're wrong. 12. If you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically, without excuses. Own it. 13. Begin in a friendly way. 14. Get the other person saying yes, yes immediately, especially if you feel defensive or argumentative. 15. Let the other person do a great deal of the talking. 16. Let the other person feel like the idea was his or hers. 17. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. 18. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. 19. Appeal to the nobler motives. 20. Dramatize your ideas. 21. Throw down a challenge. 22. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. 23. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. 24. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. And when you criticize them, do it so constructively. 25. Ask questions before giving direct orders. 26. Let the other person save face. 27. Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. 28. Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. 29. Use encouragement. Make the fault seem easy to correct. And 30. Make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. Now, if this sounds like something a manager or a leader would do, it is. In this world, you have the opportunity to apply those principles, whether you're at work, at home, at a baseball game, playing baseball, working with your kids, fishing with your kids. So the mission is broke down into bite-sized pieces. From each of the pieces, I set goals to fulfill that piece, not the whole mission. That occurs as I achieve the goals written out for all of the bite-sized pieces that ultimately make up the whole mission. This is how I did it. You can start out small like I did. The important thing is that you start. God can steer you down a path you believe He has set out to take you on. He can also change it up in the event you got sideways somewhere along the way. I did several times and He made the adjustments. Thank God, because if He did not say and did not do, then I would have been worse off, as it is no fun trying to do the things of God without God. So you are called, equipped, and gifted for ministry, which is in all the things you do, not just church activities. If you are married, then you are in ministry. If single, then you are in ministry. If you're at work at an office, in ministry. In the field or farm, in ministry. As a teacher or professor, in ministry. governor, president, ministry. I know the word states in Romans 11:29, for the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. But this doesn't mean that because you have them, they will auto-work. Discovery, development, and distribution, that is how it works for everyone. Far too many of us are spiritually neutered because we have not been equipped to launch out into our perfect calling and ministry. But not anymore because you're still listening to this audio, and it is fully equipful if you let it be. I've been using some tools since about 1995 that helped me to know myself. I didn't start with the Strengths Quest journey until 1999, which is when that body of research was released in book form and a test. By the way, I know that there are many tests out there as well as these, and by all means use them. Whatever helps you to understand you will work, although the body of knowledge should be equipping you and providing ways to use the trials and bents you have, as well as how to manage the weaknesses you no doubt have. And everyone has at least one weakness. Now, it is important to understand the difference between taking a test and finding out how statistically you fall into one of several categories. This is not a crystal ball. This is not like reading your horoscope and saying, oh, you're a bull, and this is how bulls act. It's not the same thing. We're not tapping into the devil to find out what our strengths are, to find out what our giftings are. We're tapping into repetitive research. That's all this is. So one of the first tests I took probably 40 years ago was a Kersey-Bates temperament sorter. There's a free version, and it has about 145 questions. Then we have Strengths Quest, which is the academic version of the Strengths Finder book. I got it in school. They still have it. I think there's a second version out. Then you have Strengths Finder 2.0, Strengths Finders for Leaders, Standout 2.0. Standout was written by Marcus Buckingham, who came out of the Gallup organization, which is where the Strengths Finder and some of those other books came from. And you have Colors International, which is a personality assessment. Now, if you go with the Gallup concept, they will say that the personality portion is also in the strengths, but I find it much easier to break the two apart because I believe that strengths is one thing and personality is another, even though they work together. 16 personalities. You can get the comprehensive report for a few bucks. It's about 130 pages. Then you have the spiritual gifts test, Wagner and Hoots, and then discover your God-given gifts. There are others too. Most of those are free. The one I found most useful was the spiritual gifts test by Wagner and Hoots, but also the discover your God-given gifts deals with things like administration, helps, and service. So it is a little different than the spiritual giftings. So take them both. So now you know that there are spiritual gifts and offices, as well as natural talents, skills, personality assessments that can help you with the 360 you. You see, Paul tells you what your preaching should look like. His ministry is like the ministry of Jesus. 1 Corinthians 2:4. And my speech and my preaching were not with persuasive words of human wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power. Acts 19:11. Now God worked unusual miracles by the hand of Paul. Acts 6:8. And Stephen, full of faith and power, did great wonders and signs among the people. What? Yes, Stephen also gives you some insight into his ministry. And we know that the apostles were accused of turning the world upside down. That's another example. It's not just a story about some spiritual historical figures. Know thyself in totality and enter into the ministry if you're not already doing so. Well, that's it for today. Remember, it's not what you find wrong or disagree with regarding these messages, but what you can take away from it. Together we can do more to impact the kingdom than if we work alone. Let's flip the script and kill, steal, and destroy the works of the enemy and create space for the light of light to shine through into people's lives. Plant a seed and click on the like and subscribe button. Let's build this ministry together. Thanks and see you next time in Deep Waters.